Hello and welcome to the New Jersey Morning Show. I'm Cara DeFalco.
And I'm Mike Favetta. Thanks for joining us today. Hoboken Councilman Paul Presinzano is making good on a campaign promise to make the sidewalks safer. He's doing this by becoming a bike delivery driver for Uber Eats.
Yeah, so here to tell us more about what he's learning from his side hustle is Hoboken City Councilman Paul Presinzano. Councilman, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So, Paul, if you could tell us, what specifically is the problem that you are hoping to solve?
We have a situation over the past couple of years in Hoboken that has been sidewalk safety. It's a struggle for families, seniors, and the children of the community to safely walk on the sidewalk. So it's an issue that I had learned about at the doors, and it was an easy, I wouldn't say an easy sell, but it was something people were concerned about. The sidewalks are for pedestrians, and it should be one of the safest spaces for them.
And it's the problem, I'm sorry, Mike, really fast, just because the delivery bike drivers are riding down the sidewalks, correct?
Correct. Yes, I apologize in not saying that.
That's okay.
What the situation is, there's a big difference here. It's our e-delivery community and it's not our cycling community.
Okay.
So the biggest thing for me is that there's a big distinction there, that this is some guests in our town, which are a great part of our community in solving some issues we have. But it's just I think we need to educate, and sometimes the approach that I'm taking is something that is unique because nobody's really had to face these problems since the gig economy's kind of been up and coming.
Right.
Sure. And Councilman, how long have you been doing the e-deliveries for Uber, and what have you learned so far from it?
I've been doing it for a couple weeks. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. I had to go online. I had to sign up with a social security number. I had to show a form of ID. I went through a background check, and then I had to be approved to ride. Just recently, a couple days ago, they had asked me to re-identify myself through some biometrics of a facial system. And so it's something that I've some of the misnomers about it, saying that the job is easy and you can just turn it on and do it, is not the case. There are also, I needed to learn about some of the safety issues and actually put myself in their shoes, because I'd rather talk. I have to walk the walk if I'm going to talk the talk. And so it's been I don't try to take away from jobs for the delivery personnel. What I'm trying to do is learn. And in fact, sometimes I don't even actually deliver. I tend to shadow one or two gentlemen or ladies, and I just kind of go with them so I can get a better feel of the problems that they're facing.
And so you've proposed an ordinance that would ask e-delivery drivers to pass a brief written exam as well as wear a safety vest. Some opponents say that's really not enough. It doesn't get to the heart of the problem, which is parking and traffic in Hoboken. Do you agree with them? Is there something else that could or should be done?
Listen, this is the first step. Councilman Ramos and Councilman Russo have gotten on board with me on this. It's a big issue in our town. Safety is number one. If you look at any kind of the news that you hear out of our town, we talk about Vision Zero and safety on our sidewalks. On our streets, that we've had 0 deaths in 7 years. You'll hear a lot from our mayor. And one of the big concerns is that government tends to be reactive instead of proactive. And I don't believe in that methodology. I believe we should be proactive. I don't want to see a fatality on my sidewalk as long as I'm an elected official, especially when my constituents have asked for me to do something. So this is the first step. Is it the end all be all? No. Everything can be improved, but this is something new to our town that's causing some issues, and we need to address it today and not in the future before we have a fatality.
So, Councilman, those maybe watching the program might think, well, aren't there some bike lanes in Hoboken? Wouldn't that be a solution? What's your answer to that?
We do have bike lanes on Washington Street. One of the big issues is that much of the production of the deliveries originate 1st to 5th Street in Washington, and then probably at the north end of town as well. We do have the bike lanes. Some will say that there are issues with double parked cars. I can tell you as a delivery rider now, I'm not somebody that cycled in the city. I grew up, as mom and dad always telling me, and that never go ride your bike in the city. And to this day, it kind of just sticks in the back of my head, but I did it. I have to say that while there is some obstacles, we live in a city, and you can't always fix it just through enforcement of double parked cars in the bike lanes. But I can tell you the drivers, as long as you signal, they do allow you to get around and get back into the bike lane. At the end of the day, the bike lanes exist, the road exists, the sidewalk is for pedestrians. It's against our ordinances in this town to ride e-transportation on the sidewalks. So a little bit's there. I believe that through education, which is a part of this bill, will help educate our guests in town that are helping the environment by using e-delivery instead of a car, that are getting the needs of our residents that they want to get their food delivered. I embrace this community that's coming in. It's just we need to do better on our part to make sure that our residents' needs are taken care of, and that's safety on the sidewalks.
Interesting. Councilman
Certainly.
Paul Presinzano, thank you so much for joining us this morning and telling us a bit of your story. I think it's so unique. I've never seen somebody, really kind of quite literally take to the streets in the way you have to learn about your community, and it's commendable.
Thank you for the kind words. I think ultimately, if you're going to fix a problem, you really have to get to the root of it and understand every aspect. And at the end of the day, my goal is safe sidewalks as we have safe streets, but also I'm elected to listen to what the people want, and that's what I have to do.
Councilman, speaking of, really briefly, if somebody would like to reach out to you regarding anything, where would they go?
You can either follow me on Twitter. I do post every day at Presinzano, the number 4, HOB1, or you could reach me at my email at P4H at Presinzano, the number 4, Hoboken.com.
Councilman, thanks so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Yeah, isn't that something else?
It is, because so many of the streets in Hoboken are one way. They're very narrow, and I could see how there'd be more of an incentive if the sidewalk is clear for an e-bike rider to kind of scoot over to the opposite side. But yeah, that puts certainly a danger to pedestrians.
Yeah, I do know my best friend lived in Hoboken for many years while we were in our 20s, and I know that parking in that city is at a premium. And I have always been, Hoboken's nickname is the square mile city. The city is literally 1 square mile. That's just not that big. It's a very walkable city. And I've always really strongly felt that because of that, you really could put a big parking deck, on either end of the city. And if you're visiting the city, if you're not a resident, park the car and walk. You can't go further than a mile without hitting the city limits. So, I always felt that would really kind of ease up on the parking situation, which, as some of these folks are saying, might ease up on the e-riders having the lanes blocked and so on and so forth. So it is a domino effect, but it's really interesting to see how he's tackling that.
It is.
All right, guys, you are watching the New Jersey Morning Show only on New Jersey. Find us on your Roku or Fire TV.